The flat metal object I hold in my hand is not much larger than a credit card. The back side is bare, even slightly tarnished. The front side coated in quick succession with a chemical formula known as collodion, then silver halide, a quick exposure to light, then developer, fixer, varnish is a miracle, a photographic likeness on metal, a wonder of the age. I'm holding in my hand a tin type, though it's really on steel. But the tin type, the illusion stuck. The alliteration was something that made it stick. And while millions of these were made, they're each unique. There are no copies nor prints. This is the only one of these in the whole world. And while that's all wonderful, it's what's on the front of this that interests me. You can see it's a little rough around the edges, but it's a clear image of two young men. They're standing in front of a white curtain. Their cheeks have been tinted by the photographer. It's an occupational image. They're dressed for work. The left guy is wearing an apron, the right guy is wearing a hat, and he's holding a tool, a pole with a hooked hinge at the bottom called a peavey, used to gather logs. And they are holding each other's hands. What's up with that? Who are they? We don't know. Where are they from? We don't know. When are they from? I guess from their clean-shaven faces and from their manner of dress that they're from the early 1870s. But that's it. We have no other information about this image. Are they best friends? Are they brothers? Are they lovers? We just don't know. They're one of hundreds of affectionate men pictures that I've been collecting over the years. But they are the first. They're the first guys that made me look at a little rectangle of silvered metal and ask myself, what is going on? Are they we two boys together clinging, one the other never leaving, up and down the roads going, north and south excursions making, power enjoying, elbows stretching, fingers clutching, armed and fearless, eating, drinking, sleeping, loving, no law less than ourselves owning, sailoring, soldiering, thieving, threatening, misers, menials, priests alarming, air breathing, water drinking, on the turf or the sea beach dancing. Cities wrenching, ease scorning, feebleness chasing, and statutes mocking, fulfilling our foray. Are these two the true embodiment of Walt Whitman's poem of manly affection, what he called adhesiveness between men? Even Walt himself had his picture taken with his friend, Peter Doyle. Are these gay guys? Are they homosexuals? Some of these were taken before that word was even coined. Are they Uranians or third sex or comrades of a sort? These are all 19th century ways of saying something that's hard to express. And I mention this because over this entire time span of these images in this new technology that was emerging, from the antebellum pre-war period through the American Civil War, off into the Reconstruction era of the 1870s and the early 1880s, through the Gilded Age and the gay 90s, and even into the 20th century. This entire time span was dominated by just one person. Can you guess who that might be? Well, it was this woman, Queen of England, who has an entire epoch of time named after her, the Victorian era. She came to the throne 2 years before Daguerre brought out his wonderful invention, and when she died, Kodak was already developing the azo paper that was to create the real photo postcard. When we think back to this nearly 70-year span of time, even here in these United States, we think of it as a time of prudery, of rigid morality. Not exactly the world where you expect a guy holding another guy's knee in a photo, or perhaps sitting on his lap. This is a world in which Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass was banned in Boston. a world that saw Oscar Wilde breaking up rocks in Reading jail because he was guilty of the love that dare not speak its name. This is a world in which gender roles were strictly ascribed, in which women hung out with other women, men fraternized with other men. You didn't really consort with members of the opposite sex very much before marriage, and perhaps not much after marriage. Men worked together, they played together, they did everything together. And this is the society that created the affectionate men images. And they are a thing. Books have been written about them saying that they're the product of an early gay society. Other books have been written saying that they are not. As a gay photographer myself, I try not to be too quick to decide because 99% of these, we have no identification. They're entirely anonymous as to studio, photographer, subjects, time. I try to take them exactly what they are. Men who went into a studio together and had their portrait taken. Sometimes they were a little further apart, or sometimes not. Or sometimes they were a bit more friendly, or sometimes they were touching each other tenderly. They are unique and they are wonderful, and they are talismans and tokens of a time and place that is not our own. As I have such a large collection, I start to see all these patterns repeated so many times. Guys standing next to each other with something in between. Guys sitting and standing. Legs spread apart. Legs crossed. Hands on knees, hats on heads. Now, were they posed this way by the photographer, or was this something that they chose on their own? Are they either fulfilling or defying Victorian sensibility? From the get-go, way back in the 1840s, you see the dandies. They could afford the expensive daguerreotype, but they're there throughout photographic history. They are the fancy men, the flaneurs, the rakes, the society gents in their very fine finery. But within 15 years, in the late 1850s, you finally see the democratization of the photographic medium. While the expensive pictures were for the elite, the 12-cent tintype could be had by anybody. And now you finally see the working men getting their images engraved on the steel plate by the light of heaven. And here belies a change you begin to see. With these working men, they just come in right off the street. With the dandies, they are dressed for the photographer. There's an intentionality about the images. And as time and technology progresses, you start to see a shift in the men together pictures. They are now telling a story. They are having fun with each other. Props even start to appear. They might be boxing. They might be making up. They might be playing cards and smoking cigars. They might be reading the newspaper together. They might be reading the newspaper together with their arms and their feet touching. Or they might be sitting in a paper moon. Again, is this the photographer posing them, or was it their idea to think up this scenario and freeze for a few seconds? As a young boy, I would watch the Kodak commercials on TV and listen to Paul Anka admonish me to remember the times of our lives. We all know the power a photo can hold over us, to hold a memory frozen forever. 4 years before George Eastman was even born, the daguerreotypist Thomas Mercer ran a similar ad in the Rochester Daily Democrat. Secure the shadow ere the substance fades. Grab that enduring likeness. And as we've seen, some of these pictures have endured for a very long time, some over 150 years. But for these men in their times and their lives, these pictures captured an immediate, private clasping of hands, as well as perhaps an immediate and private joining of hearts together. This is no more apparent than in the photo I leave you with today. It's an ambrotype, a silvered glass plate in a leather-covered wooden box with brass and velvet. Judging from their clothes, I figured it's from around 1852. They are affectionate. The left fellow has his armor on the right, and they're clasping hands at the bottom. But it is what is behind this image that tells an even greater tale. If you wiggle the plate out of the case, there is a secret small slip of paper. Traced on it in pencil are some numbers, a mug and a spoon, some lyrics from a song about the Shanghai chicken, and these words which are the true joining of hearts. Forget me not, forget me never, till yonder sun shall sit forever. Thank you.